Hello everybody, so today we're back. We'll be ranking all of the Gacha rare cats. These are just the standard ones that you get at the very high percent chance in your normal rare capsules. I will not be doing the limited ones or any of the advent cats or other units as well have separate rankings. This is just a standard set of all the ones with their true forms and talents now that they have them. So these are all extremely good units. You're going to be using them throughout the entire game. A lot of these are essential to beating stages, and they are normally used in most strategies. If you're a non-Uber player, you're still using these. And by the time you get to about mid-game, it is assumed that you have all these, and you should get all of them, even the worst ones, to true form. You can get them all really to level 30 if you want, mostly for the health boost. And a lot of these are some great cats. I'm really happy that they're in the game. We don't just have to use our normals and Uber carry. So starting off, we have Stilts Cat, who is sadly on the lower tier. At level 30, Acrobat Cats has 13,500 HP, 886 DPS with single attack, 310 attack range, a 50% chance to knock back angel enemies, 2.5-second attack frequency, and a 9-second recharge with 3 knockbacks. Talents add a surge attack, a 30% chance to create a level 1 surge attack between 400 and 700 range, immune to waves, resist freeze, defense buff, and attack buff. So Cat is a very interesting unit simply because he had a good build. He could have been given a good trait, yet he was given Angel and single attack. Angels are normally sent out in hordes, and Angels are a backliner heavy trait, so knockback really isn't the best ability against them, especially with the single attack and the 50% chance instead of guaranteed. I don't really think that's all worth it. And then if we're stacking that 50% chance of the knockback with the low 30% chance of the surge, you're not really getting backline knockbacks either that often, and angels are much easier controlled with another cat who we're going to talk about, which is Sanzo. And for that reason, he's not completely unusable, but I think I've never used this cat outside of like Labyrinth or Legend Quest, where it just hands me a unit or I just need to pick one. Um, this is not a go-to anti-angel debuffer, and so for that reason, he goes in D tier because he's not fully useless, but he's most certainly not good. Next up, we have Matador Cat, who was forgettable but was completely saved by her True Form and Talents. So she has a cost of 540 with a health of 20,400, 3,200 attack, doesn't really matter though, single attack, 190 attack range, 3-second attack frequency, 18 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, and a 4-second recharge, with a 30% chance to dodge attacks from red enemies for 2 seconds in the True Form. And in Talents, she gets Target Aku, Slow, Resist, Freeze, Defense buff, and Attack buff. The most relevant thing you will find here is the Aku target with the dodge. So she does have pretty okay meat shield stats, having the health of an eraser and having your standard Ramen Cat cooldown at 3 seconds, which can be brought down to 2 if you use a large research combo or a medium one, which I heavily recommend doing on Aku stages. And her dodge actually hits quite often against Aku, making her a great third meat shield if you want to use dual erasers and her, just to help sharp that front line. While she doesn't have immune to surge, the dodge can uh, affect her. The surge can start her dodge, allowing her to become invincible. And for that reason, I think she's a great meat shield. I do wish that she had a bit more HP and less knockbacks because for a meat shield, you want them up in front. You don't want them getting knocked behind. And for those lack of quality of life features, I'm going to put her in B tier, but she's a very great unit. And if we ever get Ultra Forms or Ultra Talents for rare cats, she's a prime target to become one of the best rare cats. Next up, we have Meerkat, Cameraman Cat in true form. With a cost of 540, Cameraman Cat has 10,000 HP, 5,600 damage with 1.6k DPS, 250 attack range, 3.5-second attack frequency, 6 movement speed, 4 knockbacks, 1-second attack animation, and a 3.87-second recharge. He is strong against floating enemies, has a 50% chance to survive a lethal strike, and with talents has a guaranteed survival, a 2% chance to have a critical hit, resist wave up to 50%, defense and attack buff. This is one of your best damage dealing cats, with the 250 range being just enough to being able to stay out of most melee attackers on the enemy side's range, having the great DPS of 1.6k, amazing against floating with the 3k DPS. This unit benefits greatly from boosts, so I would recommend getting to 50 because that'll really inflate its stats to become just a better general attacker, beating out units like Paris. And for that reason, and also with a critical hit, if he gets one critical hit off, that's already 10,000 damage, much higher at level 50. So he's also great to bring on the metal stages and mixed stages, because sometimes that one critical hit can turn the tide of the battle. He's just overall a great attacker, and for that reason, he's going to be an S tier. I do think he falls off a tiny bit in endgame, but he is still usable. I do prefer using units like Can and Slime, though, over him, just because they have much better burst, but he is still a great choice as a damage dealer. Next up, we have really the only anti-metal gacha rare cat, Katosaurus. So Katosaurus has a cost of 525 with stats of 16.5k HP, 1.8k damage, 1.7k DPS, single attack, 180 attack range, 1 second attack frequency, 12 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, half second attack animation, 7 second recharge, and a 7% chance to perform critical hits. This unit mostly becomes broken through talents, which add a 5% critical hit chance, which gives him a total of 12%, resist knockback, which is useful against Super Metal Hippo, defense and attack buff, I do recommend the attack buff, and I also recommend cost down, which reduces his cost by 150. So Catasaurus is mostly broken simply for being a slightly ranged, especially compared to the metal enemies, a ranged metal critter. And I'd say on any metal stage, this is one of the first units you'd put in your lineup as a no-brainer, simply because the high critical damage, the high chance of actually getting the critical hit, because with the 12% chance and the low recharge time and his easy stackability and great HP and knockbacks, he'll probably survive the most until you get another one at least. He can very easily get a critical hit that will at least one hit knockback most metal enemies, and for that reason he's going in S tier simply because he hard carries the metal trait. Next up we have Archer Cat, who I still find to be completely useless despite true form and talents. So he has a cost of 1,230, which is almost super rare level for him. He has 6k HP, 2.5k damage with 1k DPS, single attack. Massive damage to floating enemies, 2.4 second attack frequency, 13 movement speed, a range of 390, which is quite high, 3 knockbacks, and an 11-second recharge. I find this to be much closer to super rare stats. And to be honest, his damage is not that high. He has 10,000 damage against floating enemies and 10k DP or 4k DPS. But he has single attack. So you're honestly better off just using Cameraman because most floating enemies are low ranged, and the ones he can outrange can just be rushed with the super rare cat Fishman. So for that reason, he's just useless against floating enemies, and in his talents he gets Zombie Killer and Target Zombie, which does help a little bit with his viability. He also has a 2-second recover speed up buff, and obviously defense and attack. But having the 9-second recharge still kind of makes him useless, and while Zombie is a better trade for him, Assassin Bear mixed with Wushu and Housewife, he doesn't really line up with the rest of the rare and super rare meta. And for that reason, he's going in D tier. Because if you really wanted to use him, you can. He's not fully useless, but you're not using him. He's another one that I don't think I've ever used, apart from, I don't know, early game when I had no anti-floatings and fighting the face or something. Who knows? So next up we have Rover Cat, who is a great anti-alien meat shield, albeit outclassed by Jetpack in later game. So this unit has a cost of 270 and has stats of 13.6k HP, 5,000 attack damage with 1.8k DPS, 120 attack range, a 3-second attack rate, 12 movement speed, 1 knockback, 1 second attack animation, and a 3.87-second recharge. Catalyte is strong against alien enemies and immune to slow, weaken, and ward. In Talents, which just recently came out, finally, he gains defense and attack buff. He also gains Barrier Breaker, and I don't really know how those help him. I really don't think they do. I don't remember his last two talents, but I'm sure they're not really that worth it. So with the strong, he gets about 40 to 50,000 HP, or around 40,000 HP against aliens, and that makes him a great secondary meat shield next to your dual erasers. He's not fully ranged, but he does stand, I think, right behind the erasers, which does give you a bit of layering on your meat shields. Having the one knockback and the immune to slow, begin, and warp helps his match up against a lot of enemies, and he's just like a good meat shield, and I would say get his defense up talent and max him out to 50 to make him good for endgame, and he is going in B tier simply because I think his stats could be a little bit better, and while I do love that he is super cost efficient, I do think that he can die a little bit early in the end game, and I just wish he got like slightly better talents, even if it was like a 10% chance to dodge or something, like taking a page out of Matador's playbook or a slight like half a second drop in recharge. That would have helped a lot more, but he is still a great cat. Wheelcat is our next unit and it has a cost of 1,050. He has a health of 13,600, has an attack power of 7,140 damage, 3,150 DPS, area attack, 200 attack range, 2.27 second attack frequency, 9 movement speed, 1 second attack animation, 2 knockbacks, and a 4.5 second recharge. He kind of fills the Royal Guard niche before Royal Guard existed, in that the massive damage gives him around 12,000 DPS against aliens, which is kind of broken, but he is slightly on the lower range side with 200 attack range. And while he does have 28,000 damage going off against those aliens every 2 seconds with that really, really fast recharge, he can really only be used against frontline aliens and frontline starred aliens in Cast of the Cosmos. Once you get to endgame, you're mostly better off using debuffers like Psycho Cat, who we'll talk about, and Seafarer, and then just using your general damagers. Simply because he just has a little bit on the lower side of survivability, especially with this 200 attack range. And I just wish range was a bit higher in true form. I know it did go up from 170, but I think something like 230, 240 would help up his matchups a lot better than 200 does. And for that reason, I'm going to put him in C tier just because I don't really see people using him. I personally don't use him. And I just find that there are better anti alien units in the game that are also non gacha. Next up, we have Psycho Cat, who is great. We love Psycho Cat. Oh wait, I forgot to mention. Talents on Wheel Cat. 40% chance to knock back, not really that useful. Resist, weaken, defense buff, attack buff, and a 300 cost down, which does help quite a bit by lowering his cost down to 750, but I still don't think he's worth using. Psycho Cat, cost of 525, has 9,500 health, negligible damage, single attack, 365 range, 2.37 second attack frequency, 3 knockbacks, 12 movement speed, 8 second recharge, and a 50% chance to slow aliens for 4 seconds. The 4 second slow mixed with this 2.37 attack rate means that he can almost perma-slow aliens, especially with that single attack while not being area. Pairing him up with Seafarer, he'll also, once you stack him up because he has that really, really high range, they'll just be constantly attacking, so whatever comes forward will get slowed, especially with that 100% uptime. The talents add a 30% chance to weaken for 4 seconds, which basically just duels up that slow and weaken, breaks aliens. Also increases the slow duration another second, up to 5 seconds, which just doubles his uptime. Now he has over 200% uptime. Resist freeze, which is fine. Target zombie, which makes him a great zombie debuffer. And defense buff. While he does, I wish he got Sea Killer because while he has like no damage, if he gets that last hit off on a zombie and you're using him, it does get kind of annoying. Although Soul Strike units exist now, so that helps. Um, but he's just a great alien debuffer because he fixes all the issues that something like Wheel has in his alien matchups, and that he has the higher range. He has just that higher range helps so much with the aliens because they are such a backline heavy trait, and for that reason, he's going in A tier. Next up, we have Cyborg, who is such a great unit for early and mid game, but does kind of fall off in end game. So her cost is 900, and she has 10,000 HP, 5,000 attack, 1.3k DPS, immune to weaken with area attack, 350 attack range, a 4 second attack rate, 10 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, and a 2 second recharge. Along with this, she has in her talents a 50% chance to survive, immune to toxic, resist freeze, defense, and attack buff. So you're pretty much only going to be using Cyborg in the early to mid game as your main attack force. She can replace dragons and legs. And while she does have amazing stackable DPS with that 2 second recharge, she does have an extremely high cost compared to something like Cameraman, who can offer similar costs at a slightly lower range. Um, Similar stats at a slightly lower range for a much lower cost, making it much more cost efficient. And Cyborg also has like a little bit on the lower side with the damage per hit being only 5,400, and having no trait does kind of make her fall off an endgame when you're normally going to be building loadouts on specific stages based on the enemies in that stage, especially with behemoths and stuff. I think a great ultra talent or ultra form for her would be like Behemoth Slayer or Sage Slayer or something just to help her in the end game. But as of right now, I'm going to put her in. I'm thinking because she is a very, very good unit. She carries early and mid game, but I wouldn't say she's as useful as Matador and Catalyte. I'm gonna put her in B tier simply for that you can use her if you want to. I just wish she was a lot more cost efficient because $450 a second is crazy. Next up, we have Dr. Cat. So, Dr. Cat costs 510, and stats are 13k HP, 586 DPS, which is negligible, single attack, 240 attack range, 1.3 second attack frequency, 3 knockbacks, 5-second recharge, and a 40% chance to knock back floating enemies. Talents add resist curse, surprisingly not immune, resist knockback, don't know why, target relic to helping relic debuffer, and defense and attack buff. I honestly find that you're really only using Dr. Cat um, in the early game to push back a Bun Bun if you can't get a slow off with Sanzo. And then in the end game, you're really only using Doctor on Old Horn base stages. And apart from that, you're not really using Dr. Cat because a lot of times floatings will be used to hide a backliner. And by using Dr. Cat to push the floatings back, you're causing more Misley syndrome, which hurts your attackers. So if it's not like an Ultron spam stage, you're really not using Dr. Cat, and not having immune to curse kind of sucks, especially with those like higher end relic matchups. Like I could see a world where he could counter the relic face if he had better health and immune to curse, but like I just don't see where you would use him outside of Old Horn. I mean, I guess if you want to push back like a Relic Doge, you can, or Sorrel. I just don't see the point of it. And so for that reason, he's going in C tier because like being an Old Horn counter is extremely useful. One of the only ones that can like consistently knock back Old Horn. But just that is not enough to push him into the likes of these units, which you're going to be using really often. Next up, we have Pirate Cat, who is essentially just a red knockbacker who also has immune to waves. So at level 30, he costs 510 and has 15k HP, negligible damage and DPS, 300 attack range, 1.5-second attack frequency, 40% chance to knock back red enemies, 8 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, and a 6-second recharge. In talents, he gets Survive 100% and immune to waves, along with resist slow, defense buff, and attack buff. If I'm being honest, you can kind of use him as a Berserk Quarry counter, and that's pretty much all you're going to be using him for because the red trait has honestly just been demolished by Courier so bad that you don't really need to knock them back if you can just kill them. Um, and while he does have pretty good range with 300, you're really only using him against buffed boars, I guess, but like iCat and Courier ruin boars. He is great in the early to mid game to counter boars when you don't. I mean, I don't even know how early you can get Courier. I'm in the end game, so I don't really know. Um, but he can also be used as the Berserk counter, being able to knock back Berserk, which I think is extremely useful if you don't have great immune to wave units or wave blockers. Being able to consistently come up with the immune to wave and then start knockback chaining and pin him up against the base. Although Berserker does have a pretty fast attack rate, so it's gonna still get some waves off, but you can pretty quickly counter it. If it's not a boss Berserker level, you can push him back behind the base, and that pretty much beats the level. And he's just a pretty just a good anti-relic or anti-red unit and immune to wave unit. Next up, we have Ecto Cat. Ecto Cat has 16k HP, negligible damage and DPS, 280 attack range, 2-second attack frequency, 9 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, and a 9-second recharge. He has a 3 multi-hit, damage doesn't really matter, it's just pretty quick after the other, and a 16% chance to knock back zombie enemies along with Zombie Killer. So you're pretty much just going to be using him as a zombie knockbacker, and he does a pretty good job at it. He does have target alien, but I would not recommend to get the talent because of Misley syndrome. He also has resist weaken, savage blow, crazy, and defense buff and attack buff. I think the savage blow is useless because it only goes up to 10%, and he does the majority of his damage on his third hit, which is 1,257 damage, and multiplying that by 3 gets you 3,000 damage. And like if he savage blows on his second hit, he does 200 damage instead of 85. Like, it's not a good talent to get. I don't recommend it. I don't even know why it exists, but he's just a good zombie knockbacker. I still bring him on pure zombie stages. Great counter to Miss Haka. You can pretty much just spam him and he will counter that easily. And I still use him pretty often. Just a great anti-zombie unit. Great for getting burrowed zombies like off your back if he's in a little swarm with some attackers and he just needs to get them out. He does a great job at it, so B tier. Next up, we have Elemental Duelist, who I think is pretty much forgotten at this point. He has 630 cost, 17k HP, 3000 DPS, 155 attack range, 1-second attack frequency, 11 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, 1-second attack animation, and a 4.5-second recharge. He deals massive damage to red enemies with single attack. Along with this, he has resist weaken, 70%, target angel, defense buff, attack buff, and recover speed up. I think that he can be useful as a damage dealer to both Red and Angel. I do wish he had area attack though, but he does have great DPS against them, 12k DPS, similar to Chillcat, but he does have much lower range. While he does have the high HP for a rare cat, he does have 3 knockbacks, which gives him like no bulk, and then he only has 155 attack range. Silence. It's horrible. So while he can be used against red enemies because some red enemies are very low range, Angels is useless because he can barely counter any of them. He can't outrange any of them, and he'll always get knocked back. In endgame, he'll just straight up die. Um, and so for that reason, he's also going to go in D tier simply because red, while he is massive damage against them, immediately outclassed by Courier. Angel, you're not using him against Angel because he can't fight them. And he can't be used as a general attacker because Cameraman is better, and so are many other units. If you want a single attacker, use Can, um, who also has like similar range but much better health and DPS and attack power. And so for that reason, he just falls off and just becomes a forgotten unit in your collection. He can be used against the Boar variants. That's kind of it. Next up, we have Witchcat, who is a debuffer. So Witchcat costs 495 and has 11k HP, negligible damage and DPS, 250 attack range, 1.5 second attack frequency, 10 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, and a 4-second recharge. And also has a 20% chance to slow red enemies for 5 seconds with the 1.5 second attack rate, over 300% uptime. So she also has talents, which increases her slow duration another second, which gives her, I think, 400% uptime at that point. No, my math's not mathing. A little over 300%, 350%. A 50% chance to survive. Target zombie defense buff, attack buff. With the range of 250, she does an amazing job being the slower against both red and zombies, and does a better job at Housewife, in my opinion, at slowing zombies. Um, and she does, I'm going to talk about her damage. She does have 800 damage and 558 DPS, so that does kind of stack up to a little bit over time. Not much in endgame, but in mid game and early game it kind of does. Great counter to the Boar variants, good against the Red Bun. Um, okay against most zombies because zombies are pretty low ranged, but I don't really think that slowing is the best way to counter them. But she does a pretty good job at it, and just for being like a good debuffer to both traits, being able to support units like Courier and Housewife, I'm gonna put her in B tier. Next up, we have where is it? But it's somewhere. It's somewhere here. I'll find it. It's not Bishop Cat. It's Beef Cat. Sorry, y'all. I line up like my little pages with all the stats on them, and probably clicked Bishop twice. There you go. Now we have Thief Cat. Thief Cat sucks. We've been new. Okay, so he has a cost of 495. Sorry about that, y'all. 9k HP, 1.6k DPS and damage. He has a 1 second attack rate. 200 attack range, area attack, double money gain when defeating enemies, 3 knockbacks, 5 second recharge. He's Cameraman, but worse, but with double money. But double money is the talent on Can, and so Gomon sucks because you would use him for his double money, and now you don't because Can exists. And the biggest issue with this double money thing is you want high damage. That's because you want to be the unit that kills it because that's how you get the double money. And you can't really do that when you're doing 1,600 damage, which is useless once you get past early game, to be honest. Um, and simply for that reason, he becomes useless. You're never going to use him. There are much better attackers in the game. He has no niche. His talents are useless. Attack up, being adding 150% at 33% health, which is on his last knockback, which means he needs to take 6,000 damage, which is pretty much just the amount of damage that a mid to late game peon can do, and that triples his damage to 4,800. But oh no, not even triple. What does that do? Double and a half. That's what, like, yeah, 4,000 damage. That's useless. Because while that does increase his average DPS, now he's about to die because he has 3,000 HP and he's not tanking anything. He has Zombie Killer, but like he doesn't have Soul Strike, so it's not like he's going to be running back up and killing the zombies. And zombies give no money anyways; those are cash tied stages. But like without, it's just useless. And then move speed up, 10 more movement speed gives him 23, which makes him quite speedy, but it's kind of useless. So our first F tier of the day, he sucks. Um, Pogo Cat. just a good revive meat shield. So 6800 HP, 1000 DPS, single attack, 150 attack range, 1.6 second attack frequency, 10 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, 1.1 seconds of backswing, which I think is important on meat shield. 2-second recharge time, standard meat shield. Talents resist slow, resist wave, defense and attack buff, move speed up. So he's just a good survive meat shield. That's pretty much all I can say. You can use him with your double erasers if you want to. Great against units that do high damage because he can come up and survive. Great against advent bosses. Really not much else to say. With the move speed up talent, he becomes a strong rusher meat shield. So B tier. Next up, we have another bad red unit. Maximum the Fighter. Cost 525. 26k HP, 1.5k damage, 1.8k DPS, 140 range area attack, 0.8 second attack frequency, 11 moon speed, 3 knockbacks, 0.5 second attack animation, 4 second recharge time. Strong against red enemies. Faces the same problem as Elemental Duelist. 140 attack range is not enough, and red is power crept by Courier, making him useless because you're not going to use him over Courier and Can. While he does have the strong, which gives him very good HP, giving him nearly 60 to 70, almost being used as a tank. He does have 3 knockbacks, which kind of ruins that for him. I wish he had. If he had 1 knockback and strong, that would put him in like Catalyte tier of like a good anti-red meat shield. But sadly not. He also has immune to slow and immune to weaken, but like you're not going to use him, so why would you get those? Resist curse, resist toxic, defense buff, useless talents, whatever. He's going with Elemental Duelist as another bad anti-red unit that might have been great back when Courier didn't exist. I honestly know, I didn't even use them back then. I was there when Courier didn't exist. Shaman Cat, favorite anti-floating freezer. Necrodancer costs 510 and has 6200 HP, negligible damage and TPS, single attack, 300 range, 1.8 second attack frequency, 10 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, 0.7 second attack animation, 6 second recharge, and a 20% chance to freeze floating enemies for 3 seconds. With treasures, which you're going to have 3.6 seconds, which gives them exactly 200% uptime. Kind of important. Talents. The most important one is the 30% chance to do a level 2 wave attack, which essentially gives him area attack. Also immune to toxic if you want to use him against Gobble, although I think he has extremely low HP for that. Yeah. So you're pretty much just using him to freeze floating enemies like Bun Buns. Great against the Mecha Bun that you fight at the end of Stories of Legend. Um, yeah, just a solid anti-floating freezer when you need to fight like a face variant or a Bun Bun variant. Used in tandem with Sanzo, who is a few units up. Just a solid unit. The wave makes him okay, he just doesn't want to be in Beecher, I guess. He's going in Beecher. Just works as your anti-floating freezer, does better than Delinquent. Um, Rocker Cat, Ramen, our favorite, we love Ramen. Cost 315, 18k HP, 1000 damage, 3000 DPS matters for this one, single attack. 120 attack range, 0.3 second attack frequency, 8 movement speed, 1 knockback, 0.17 second attack animation, 4 swing and backswing, 3.87 second recharge becomes 2 second with a medium or large research combo and resistant to angels. In talents, Ramen gains resist slow, knockback curse, and defense and attack buff. I only recommend getting defense buff because that is great. I'd say get him to 50 as soon as possible. Amazing third meat shield, breaks the angel trait. If you run the math, he has nearly 90,000 HP against angels, a single ramen cat, and you can deploy him as fast as a secondary meat shield, which makes him absolutely broken against angels. Also a great general meat shield with a high HP and the quick recharge time, especially when boosted. He can kind of work well with the erasers as a general meat shield. And he also has great damage for a meat shield, being able to dish out really big amounts of damage over time, and for that he gets S tier. Next up we have Tin Cat. Moment of silence for Tin Cat. When has anybody ever used Tin Cat? 510 cost, 15k HP, negligible damage and DPS, single attack. We're not even going over the rest. 50% chance to knock back black enemies from 345 attack range. This unit doesn't need to exist when Bomber Cat exists, who is also a free unit. And for that reason, F tier. I actually will look at its talents because I really want to see what it has. 20% chance to dodge for 1.67 seconds. No one cares because why do you want to dodge against black enemies for 510 cost? Immune to knockback. Okay, so we're trying to turn this into a meat shield with the talents. No. What black enemy even does knockback. Like, what are we using immune to knockback for? Whatever, F tier. I hate it. Cat Gunslinger, a forgettable unit saved by talents. Okay, so Rodeo Cat has 7,800 HP, 1.8k damage, 667 DPS, single attack, 2.7-second attack frequency, 320 attack range, 3 knockbacks, and a 6.5-second recharge with a 30% chance to slow black enemies for 4 seconds. Talents add Target Relic and Resist Curse. I wish it was immune, that would make it a lot better. Um, the Resist Curse is 70% defense and attack buff, and a 0.67-second recover speed up boost, which makes him like 5.8 seconds instead of 6.53. You're pretty much just going to be using him, not really even against blacks because Bomber Cat exists, but against relics, simply Relic Bun Bun. That's what you're using him against. Because being the first relic enemy that you fight, technically in the canon, um, you're not really going to be able to have like anti-relic ubers like say Catman's true form because you won't have elder cat fruits, so you're going to have to rely on your rare units like Naga Cat and him to get you through the stage. And he is just like a great relic bun bun counter, especially in those early stages when you fight relic bun bun so often. Having enough range to be behind him, having the 30% chance, having the um, almost 200% uptime. Once you get a stack of them going, you should be good unless if your future cats die. And for that reason, he goes in. Let me think. Okay, he does go in B tier because I'd put him with these cats. Yeah. Okay. So next up we have Sanzo Cat. We love Sanzo. Okay, Sanzo costs. What does it cost? 495, 11k HP, 1000 DPS with the area attack, 250 attack range, 1 second attack frequency, 10 movement speed, 3 knockbacks, 3.87-second recharge, and a 20% chance to slow floatings for 4 seconds, which gives him 400% uptime. He also, in his talents, gets a 30% chance to weaken for 4 seconds, making him even more broken, and also gets target Angel, increased slow duration for a second, and survives. Essentially, what Psycho Cat is for zombies and aliens, um, Sanzo is for angels and floating, but with area attack with lower range. Um, he works great against the cyclones, all the cyclones that he targets. He also gets angel, but the angel one because angels and floatings don't exist for some reason. And he just works great against them simply because he can be deployed so often. Once he gets a single slow off, you're good because then that uptime mixed with the more Sanzos coming in will make sure you always have something going. And his damage actually can stack up over time. Once you get a huge stack going, he is a slightly viable attacker in that case just because he's there doing the damage. He does have a little bit on the lower side of the HP. I do wish one of his taunts was just like guaranteed survivor or even 50% survivor because sometimes Sanzos will stack on top of each other, and especially if you're fighting a cyclone, they can just run up to him and destroy your stack, then you start to lose the level very quickly. And while this can be saved with like a good cat cannon or summon conjure thing timer, um, he does have slightly less survivability, but he is still a great unit, and I'm going to put him in S tier for that. Next up, we have the anti-zombie meat shield of the rare units, which is Shagon Cat. Shagon Cat costs 360 and is basically just your anti-zombie version of Catalite and Ramen, although not as broken as Ramen, closer to Catalite. He has 16k HP with resistant to zombies, and also has pretty good damage with 4,600 and 2578 DPS. Single attack, a triple multi-hit, immune to slow, zombie killer. 120 attack range, 1.8-second attack frequency, 1 knockback, 5.87-second recharge. He is a bit on the slower side of the meat shield recharge, but he does get that really, really high HP. Um, the reason why he's not as broken as Ramen is because while he does have the same amount of health and the boost from the treasures and stuff and the resistant, he just has a 2 second slower cooldown, which does kind of hurt, but he is still great against zombies. He got talents, they were kind of useless. Get the defensive talent, get him to 50. I'm going to put him in A tier because I think he's better against zombies than Catalite is against aliens because Jetpack exists, and Jetpack does better against aliens than Catalite does, while Wushu pretty much still has no competition. And I do still use him extremely often in the endgame on pure zombie stages. He also works great against all the zombie outbreaks with his high HP. Next up we have Amayadori Cat. None of his stats really matter apart from 310 attack range, 12-second recharge, 100% chance to weaken non-metal enemies to 50% for 7 seconds, and a random zombie killer, sure. So he does have a 4-second attack frequency, so that is kind of long, but he does have that 7-second weaken, and this can be extremely useful against some enemies, which is just like a boss, and that you can just crowd control and weaken to keep your attackers and meat shields going for longer. He's just like a solid weaken unit. Like, there's really not much more to say about him other than, yeah, he's just a reliable weakener. I do wish he had area attack, though. I do have to say, I don't really use him that often in the end game. I think that more specialized debuffers are better, especially other ones like slow and freeze work better than weakening a single enemy, especially because, like, say that you always have a peon in front, he's always going to end up weakening the peon. So for that reason, I'm in C tier, but he is still like a solid unit. He just doesn't have that many use cases anymore. He did get talents. Immune to waves is the only like important one, where he becomes an anti-wave debuffer. But I think that waves are like it does just lower the damage on the wave, which can be useful. I just think it's kind of situational, and I think people have immune to wave units and meat shields by then, like Lil Cat. And last up we have Gardener Cat. He is an anti-zombie freezer. He costs 540, has a 17,000 HP, 340 damage, single attack, 250 attack range, attack frequency of 0.3 seconds, 3 knockbacks, and an 11-second recharge, with a 5% chance to freeze zombies for 4 seconds. His talents, Target Aku, is useless. Everything else is useless. You don't need his talents. I'm gonna put him in C tier, and that's because I find that the other zombie debuffers on this list do better than him. And while the if he can get a freeze off, it's extremely useful with that like nearly 5-second duration with treasures. I just find that he doesn't hit it very often. While he does have good HP, he also can just die, and I just think that you're better off pushing with attackers like Zomber Cat and Wushu even and just other units than bringing Weed Whacker. So that's my ranking of all the rare cats. Let me just look at it real quick and make sure I don't want to move anybody. These are all great S tier units. These two are pretty good A tier units. I think I want to move a couple of these up because I think that the rare cats are generally better than I'm ranking them. Um, I think I'm gonna put Matador in A because she's one of your first anti-Aku meat shields that you have. Um, Especially when the Aku subtrade came out, like everyone was using Matador, and that was honestly like respect because that was hard. I'm gonna put Pogo Cat in A tier simply because he is a good meat shield that he's used quite often. Um, should I bump Catalyte up? I think I think Catalyte deserves it, honestly, just because he carries Cats of the Cosmos so hard, being like one of the best meat shields before you get Jetpack, who is a pretty hard unit to get. Um, Paris can stay because she falls off in the end game. These are all pretty B tier units to me. These are all pretty C tier, pretty D tier, pretty okay. I'm good with this tier list. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really trying to get on that upload roll, get on that YouTube grind. Yeah, I know this video ran a bit on the longer side. Please watch my shorts too. That's where I do the short rankings of the units. And I would just love if you supported my channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Only 20% of y'all who watch my videos are subscribed. It would really, really help me if y'all subscribed and engaged. I reply to all comments. I really do think through what y'all say. I change my rankings based on them, and I think of units differently. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.